Hi, everybody. Today I'm going to share you some very, very special personal stories about myself of how I did Teshuva, and if we can get this thing listed better, much better. I'm here with my friend over here, two guys, Yechiniks in Los Angeles, which is unfortunately we don't have a lot of us around here, but we're working on making many more. Anyways, so the reason I'm telling you this is because today I met a young man, Yosef Abersara, who Abersara, he's the grandson of Meir Abersara. So Meir Abersara was instrumental, even though he did not really know it so much, in me doing tshuva. So let me tell you this story. It's an amazing story. Like many Baal tshuva stories, why people did tshuva, it shows you how amazing things are and how God is really with us and how he picks us up like from above and turns us and shows us how to come close to him. So I was in my high school, and my last year in high school. Actually, I ran away my last year in high school, and I was a hippie at that time. And then the group of guys I was spending time with in Tucson, none of them were Jewish. They were, we were at that time. That was the beginning of the hippie era. People were really like trying to get close to God, and really searching to do what's right. And that was just the first few years, I think it happened. But so I was involved in that, and then towards I think 1969, I got involved in macrobiotics. The macrobiotics in the hippie area, people were using different psychedelics. They're smoking marijuana a lot. That was part of what everybody's trying to get close and trying to see things change. But at that time, we reached a level where we totally got out of all of that, and we were eating very, very strictly. We're eating according to macrobiotics. It's a something based in Zen in Zen Buddhism from China, from Japan. It was very popular at that time. It was a pretty healthy diet, and there's all these studies of how to cook and how to do this and cut that. It's called craziness as far as I'm concerned now, but they used to have different places. So I got involved with a group of people, and I met Meir once. I don't think he was religious at that time. They had like south of Big Sur, that's on the ocean in south of San Francisco, a very beautiful place. They had like a 10-day seminar where they would cook and talk about it, and you'd hang out together. I was like 17 at that time, maybe 18 maybe, and that's where I met him. So I know that time there were three leaders. I've always been looking in my life for somebody to show me what I'm supposed to do. How do I become better? Baruch Hashem, I finally found the Rebbe, Malchus, and a few other people, and they're really helping me out tremendously in my life and doing good and spreading God's will and spreading God's joy throughout the world. So I met him there, and then I happened to go at there were three leaders of this movement, two Japanese, and this one was Jew, and Meir, Jewish. So I happened to go to one of the places in Brookline where they had these houses, everybody paid rent. It was a whole craziness over there, and they would study, whatever, and thank God it didn't work out for me, and I was on my way back across the nation, going west, and I stopped by Meir's house at that time because I knew he was in Binghamton at the time. And the kids he wasn't religious on the outside, just at home he was. So I happened to come back through, this was like in September, October of 69, and I ended back in Tucson a couple months later. And in February, Meir Abersara happened to be coming through Tucson to teach about macrobiotics, nothing to do with Judaism. So I went up to see him, and at that time, from that period of time, from like September, October till February, all of a sudden I wanted to keep Shabbos. I had no clue what it was. I mean, I was brought up not keeping Shabbos, and we went for Sunday school for bar mitzvah. It wasn't real. And as soon as my bar mitzvah, I ran away from the whole thing because it wasn't real. And so all of a sudden I would take it, I would try and hitchhike to the outskirts of Tucson, and I'm trying to figure, and it was like just, I don't know, to this day I don't know what happened. And then I would take a book, and you're not supposed to read holy books in the bathroom, but at that time that's where you read them. I read it, and it was just random things that were happening. So I went to talk with Meir, and I was talking to him, and I said, I'm getting interested in keeping Shabbos and things like that. And I didn't know at that time he was he was religious at home. He wasn't religious spreading anything. Like later years, he became one of the biggest followers of the Rebbe, who helped thousands and thousands of people returned to God. So talking with him, and he says, well, why don't you go to the rabbi here? I said, okay. So there was a small young Israel there. I think there were maybe 5 or 6 Orthodox families. And I said, okay. So I went to the rabbi, and this is because Meir had just suggested it, And everything from then on, whatever he told me did, I did. I don't even know today what happened. I went to the rabbi, I said, now what am I supposed to do? And he would keep kosher, all these different things he told me to do. And about 4 or 5 months later, I remember my parents offered me a trip to Israel. And I decided, I wanted to go to Israel. So I went, and so when I landed in Israel, the day before I left for Israel, I had a stopover in New York. So I called Meir and told him I'm going to Israel. He said, well, I have some friends of mine getting married. I said, and they're getting married in this place, Commute. So I went there. It wasn't for me, but I was there for the marriage. And after there, I met this a lady, Or Rosenblum. And she started telling me I'm interested in learning now. I wanted to learn. Originally, I wasn't even going to go learn. I thought I was just going to live in a kibbutz. But for some reason, I told her I'd want to learn. So she told me that there were 2 places she gave me. It was the Asper Yeshiva and also Rebbe Yitzchak Ginsburg. So I went, and I remember sleeping that night on the top of the yeshiva in the old city. And the next day, I ended up with Rebbe Ginsburg. He's a big mukubal, and I studied with him. That's how I started to do learning, to do tshuva. And it was just this random thing that happened with Meir. And it was to everybody. I hope everybody should have a great Shabbos. This is like Erev Shabbos by us. Kol Tov.